All right, all right, all right. You are now rocking with the best, and we are here for our Bad Blood instant recap episode. I am, of course, your host on the and new wrestling podcast, KD Drummond. I am here with my man, Five Grand, the one and only Mr. Josh Rodriguez. Say what's up to the people, Josh.
Josh Rodriguez of Film School University, and if you smell what The Rock is cooking.
What a way to end the PLE. We had just an insane start to the night. We had an insane finish to the night. The middle was kind of gooey, but the way that they left out of that thing, man, it was just so incredible. Of course, the big thing that everybody's going to be talking about is the return of The Rock. Not only did we get to see Roman Reigns in his first in-ring action since WrestleMania, but we got The Rock appearing on the WWE broadcast for the first time since WrestleMania. And myself personally, I could not be more excited about everything that went down in this PLE. So let's go through it real quick. What's your biggest takeaway from the night, Josh?
Bad Blood was very much microwaved. It was hot on the outsides and a little lukewarm on the
A little
insides,
bit. Yes,
a
sir.
little frozen still. It needed some more time to cook. But the final boss is back, and I think that is our biggest headline of the night.
Absolutely, absolutely. We saw some things in the middle that I think everybody that was watching, or at least us, we felt could have been better. But the first match of the night, the Hell in a Cell, the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, that was, I mean, banger cinema. I don't even think that does it justice what we saw in that match. And if everybody's been watching our previous episodes, I was getting a little bit weary of the whole rivalry between Punk and McIntyre. I was like, it feels like it's run its course. They were giving bad promos there to the end up until the last one last week, but they got their act together. And man, was this a banger of a match. Talk to me about what you saw.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I definitely felt like the matches just got better between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre over time. All three matches sort of felt like a crescendo, and I liked what CM Punk was saying even after his promo the other night when he was talking very candidly on a different podcast, saying, "This to me, Hell in a Cell feels like it needs to be warranted. You need to
Yes.
have a rivalry that makes a Hell in a Cell warranted, and not just a cliche, not just a pay-per-view event that you just kind of you mark it on the calendar. No, this needs to be earned, and they did that. To me, that's the best Hell in a Cell match I've seen since Triple H and Undertaker at WrestleMania 28.
Okay.
It was that level of good. CM Punk absolutely delivered. And we talked about this. He didn't look great necessarily in his first match with Drew McIntyre. He kind of came back a little bit to his own in match 2 at Bash in Berlin. And then now you see here at Bad Blood, CM Punk absolutely back to form, looking like vintage CM Punk. And Drew McIntyre, man, whoa, did he carry this match in a
Yeah, he
big
did.
bad way. Not to take
Yeah.
anything away from CM Punk, but good Lord, Drew McIntyre is the real deal. And the bumps that he took in this match, him and CM Punk,
Yeah.
just chef's kiss. Beautiful match.
Yeah, I wrote in the takeaway article over on Sporting News that now that this trilogy has run its course, we can now have CM Punk, and we talked about it on the show before. He can now go the legend path and do some of those sorts of things. He's earned this sunset of his career on his own terms. He had the final big rivalry, and now it can be more about who he has been over the course of the last 2 decades. For McIntyre, it feels like he is squarely now in that conversation to be in for my take, a trifecta for the World Heavyweight Championship. There's Braun Breaker, there's Gunther, and now there's Drew McIntyre. And I think they hinted at it before the strap match that he was about to get into that mix, and now they can return to that. So I gave this match a 98 out of 100. I really don't know what else they could have done to make this match better. It's the highest score that I've given to any match in any PLE, on top of the women's ladder match back at Money in the Bank. Speaking of Money in the Bank,
Nice.
Tiff
Love the
didn't
segue.
cash. What the hell are they doing? They could have gone so many directions with that cash. And I wrote, yeah, okay, maybe it's because everybody expected her to cash. This was a twist that she ended up not cashing, but there can only be so many times where you see the same thing over and over again. And I think that's what was the problem with the middle three matches. Nia Jackson Bailey, Tiff almost cashes but doesn't. Damian Priest and Finn Balor, Judgment Day tries to jump him. Somebody ends up winning. Like, these repeats are just getting a little bit too much for me, including no winner well, a winner's purse for Rhea Ripley in the Ripley versus Liv Morgan match. Talk to me about that one.
Okay, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan. To me, that was the most undercooked match of the night. That
Yeah.
I really had high expectations. Especially, you have the element of Dom Mysterio in the shark cage. I mean, like, of course, it was entertaining in that way, but I felt like the chemistry that Rhea and Liv had, even at SummerSlam, just
Yeah.
did not translate in this match very well at all. I think Rhea, unfortunately, looked a little rusty, and it seemed like Liv was kind of running circles around her in a way. Um, but it just the chemistry wasn't there. I don't think that they were hitting the beats in the right way. It felt clunky, and a lot of the moves, a lot of like the counters that they were performing, just felt a tick off. And
Yep. Yep.
to me, that's what happened with a few of the matches. Even Balor and Damian Priest, those felt a tick off. So something about some bad juju in Atlanta tonight. I just don't think the
Yep.
wrestlers were at their best unless we're talking about the very beginning of the show.
Yeah, and that's actually what I wrote about the Nia Jackson Bailey matches. Like there were clear misses in their exchanges, right? And I
Yes.
mean, it even threw off the announcer. They were like, "Oh, Bailey lands a move. Oh, my bad. That was Nia Jax." Like it was just a convoluted mess between all of them. And honestly, to be real about it, I wasn't very impressed with the first 10, 15 minutes of the last match, the tag team between Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. It was like it was boring up until they got to the final the final version of what they were going to do. When Cody finally was attacking Fatu on the end, the splash from the top turnbuckle onto the announcer's table was beautiful. All of that action outside of the ring to kind of separate them and get it back to Reigns versus Sikoa. Up until that point, it was a really boring match. My kid walked out the room. My kid was like, I really don't feel like watching this anymore. 3 hours is enough. He went to go play video game. He went to go play 2K24. But I
Yeah.
called him back in. I called him back in when Jimmy showed up, though, buddy. Talk to me about Jimmy Uso, man.
I mean, Jimmy Uso, wow. What an entrance. Exactly how No C laid it out on Twitter. I don't know if you were keeping up with our and New Wrestling at Andrew Wrestling on Twitter, but the tweets were going live, and Patrick No C Walker, he called it out. He said Jimmy Uso is going to show up in a bandana and he's gonna impress. He's going to shock the people, and that's exactly what he did. And to your point about the match itself, to me, this is another. It was a WrestleMania trope for me. Is that you had the ceremony, you had the band entering Cody Rhodes. They did the entrance for Cody Rhodes. It wasn't great. I think the
Right
audio,
now.
at least on
Yeah.
them, cut off to where
Yep.
like they weren't performing at the right times,
Yep.
which that's unfortunate. But you got to make an audible there, which is what they did. They restarted the music and they basically asked the band to stop playing. And he made his entrance as normal without the accompaniment of the marching band, which would have been cool. And then you have Roman's entrance, which I feel like the orchestra didn't play either. Like
Right.
they were just kind of standing there. So I think their
Yep.
audio was like really messed up. Anyways, so it's one of those things where WWE loves to do the ceremony. They love to do these giant entrances. And when you have a wrestler that's returning and all you want to do is see him in the ring, it feels like it drags on just a little bit. And when you finally get them in the ring, it's all of maybe 10 minutes of action for Roman Reigns. He does his 5 moves of doom basically, and then that's it, right? It felt a little. It not that it didn't feel warranted. There were a lot of really hype moments in the match, but it dragged for
Yeah.
sure. I thought we started the
Absolutely.
match with about 20 minutes left, and when it went into like 40 minutes, I was like, wow, they really feel proud of this match for some reason. But yeah, unfortunately, it just didn't do it for me. The return of Jey Uso, of course, did it for me, and then like you talked about, like you teased before, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, the final boss returns, and the implications of that are going to be far-reaching now that we're getting into WrestleMania season.
Yep. Yep. And I wrote on the takeaways, I was just like, bro, it's on. Like, I don't know what the takeaway is from The Rock showing up. He gave the people's eyebrow, he raised the one, but then it was two, three. And so I just can't wait to see how this is going to play out. We had some hints, we had some scuttlebutt, we like to call it in the media world, that there was going to be a possibility that this was going to be his return. But we've done this before, right? That we've done this with Roman Reigns. Is this the week that Roman Reigns come back? Is this going to be the PLE that The Rock shows up? But we had hinted again on Sporting News that with his schedule freeing up on the movie scene, it felt like it was a perfect time for him to return to WWE in these winter months going into the WrestleMania season. So he's back. I can't wait to see if they're going to play this out in Survivor Series and leading up to WrestleMania. Obviously, we have the Royal Rumble before that, but then we got an announcement mid card from Triple H. He came out and he had the announcement about the Crown Jewel. The Crown Jewel is obviously I think it's Saudi Arabia is where they're hosting it, but it's a foreign PLE on foreign soil. But he unveiled a new belt, the Crown Jewel belt, that's going to have whoever is the champion of Raw against the champion of SmackDown facing each other. And neither of those titles are going to be available, much to the chagrin of our guy No C. He kind of went off on Twitter when that happened and on the back channels. But they will fight for this new championship. And I don't know. I'm not a belt expert. That shit looked beautiful to me, man. Did you like the belt?
Oh, the belt is gorgeous. The belt is gorgeous. It harkens back to like an old WCW belt where it's just bigger than
right. The old Ric Flair WW,
yes. Like an NWA title,
yes,
like
NWA. Yes,
that's the shape of it.
Yes,
totally harkens back to that. It feels special. They said it, 14 karat diamonds on it, and it's gorgeous. It's stunning, and I think at least barring any sort of craziness, especially with tomorrow night, I think you're going to see Gunther versus Cody Rhodes for the Crown Jewel Championship. To me, that is a clear marquee matchup that everybody in Saudi Arabia will be raving about. They're going to be happy to see that. To me, that's a clear marquee matchup and a beautiful title.
No, I think it is as well. And we're also going to get, if things stand as they are right now, we're going to end up getting Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax. Like, it's a men's and a women's, he said. There's going to be one on each side. So that's just insane to be able to see that if Nia Jax still holds the title, because I swear to God, if Tiffy doesn't cash this shit out soon, man, maybe she catches it at Crown Jewel. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe they had that match and they let her cash it at Crown Jewel, because something's got to bust. I know that she has a year. I know it just happened earlier in the summer. She's got another 8 months that she can do it, but this was the moment. Everything was perfect. And I think the roof would have tore off of Atlanta if she had cashed and taken the title. I think it was a missed opportunity.
I agree, and I think especially after the Hell in a Cell match, to go into Nia Jax versus Bayley, it's like you had the high of the night. Well, granted, we didn't know that, but you have the best match of the night, followed up by Nia Jax versus Bayley that no one's really excited about, but you have the opportunity there to have Tiffy cash in at the end of the match, brand new women's champion. I think that would have been the way to go. It does feel like a missed opportunity. However, if you've been watching for a long time, this is par for the course with the Money in the Bank briefcase. It's always going to be teased. It's always going to be set up for you. And just when you think it's going to happen, it doesn't happen. They lull you to sleep. They're going to keep lulling us. They're going to keep, teasing this more and more and more. And then when you least expect it, or at WrestleMania, that's when she'll cash in.
One thing I noticed before we sign off, because we're going to have so much to talk about, so make sure that you're smashing that subscribe button. So this is our recap show, but make sure that we're going to be right back on Tuesday night going into Wednesday doing a full recap, including all of the matches that are going to happen on Raw on Monday night as a follow-up to this event. But one thing that I noted, and I noticed it in the second match, and then I saw it happen in the third and the fourth match, whoever started the match hot won the match. The only one that didn't happen was the final match, because Solo Sikoa, and because it was a big stare off and they really didn't do much for the first 5 minutes. That was the only match where the person who started off hot didn't end up the victor. It was like they had a script for the entire night. And that kind of, soured me on the event, because I was like, oh, okay. Like I said, I noticed it after the second match. So third match, I was like, oh, okay, he started out hot. He's going to win. She started out hot. She's going to win. And it came out. So when it comes to the script writing and the storylines, they could have done a better job in the way that they executed tonight. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think that the pay-per-view, as much as it has been built up since SummerSlam, I feel like we've really, 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 like, this has been the marquee one. Granted, we had Bash in Berlin. Granted, we had another one, I think, between that too. This one felt like, okay, this is going to be the pay-per-view
Right.
before Survivor Series, basically, and it fell flat, like you said, man, and hate that, but we end on a high. At least we have the great beginning that we had to the great ending. So there's
Yep.
a lot in store for us in the future, and this doesn't dissuade me at all. I just
Right.
think this was an off night on several levels. I don't think it was the
Yeah.
booking necessarily, just the execution of some of these.
I think they said we have Hell in a Cell that's going to be a banger. We're going to announce Crown Jewel. We're bringing back The Rock and Roman Reigns. That's all we need because it's not a
Yeah,
big four. It feels like that's how they approached it. So
yeah, unfortunately, and I think maybe the fans kind of built up this one to be really special. I mean, granted, it was going to be in Georgia, homecoming for Cody Rhodes, and he kind of felt like an afterthought ultimately.
oh my God, he got no pop. Like everything he did, it was Reigns. They were shouting for the other guy to come in the ring. Like it was like he
or
wasn't
heat for
even a champion.
Solo. Or heat for Solo, and No C gives Solo a lot of heat, but I mean the guys, he gets
He's
reactions,
a
man.
good heel.
He's
He's
a
a good
great
heel.
heel. There are people
Like,
reacting to this guy, and if we
yes,
know anything about the
absolutely.
WWE, it's about who's getting the reaction. And
Yep.
while you have Roman Reigns in the ring, every fan in that stadium is chanting "Fuck you, Solo." So
Exactly. Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
he's a good heel, man. He really is. He's coming to his own.
Okay, man. I appreciate your time. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up again. We will be back with another episode on the And New Wrestling Podcast. Make sure you're smashing that subscribe button. And more importantly, smash that notification button so you don't miss any of these episodes. Because if you weren't expecting this one, it's sitting there for you. I promise you, you need to hit that button. You know what it is. We're out of here. Salute.